Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I contacted Lightwish again recently and asked if there was any way that I could potentially try some of their colored UV resin. So they offered me their newest edition, which is their glitter resins, and I couldn't be more excited to try them. I've actually never worked with any kind of colored UV resin before, so completely new to this area of it, but I am super excited to see what these guys can do. So in this kit, you get 8 different colors, and I'm going to pop them up on the screen here in a minute, and this is from their website that shows all the different colors, here they are, that you get in this kit. And I just want to kind of see how they are going to work. So a huge thank you to Lightwish for letting me try these. I truly appreciate it. And there will be a discount code for you guys in the description box below underneath the supplies list. All right, so we're going to start with these really cute moon, like phases of the moon molds that I got. Now, I just got these. I've not used them before, and we're just going to kind of see how I get on. But I am excited to try it. But I wanted an orange because for the flowers in the middle, they look like sunflowers to me. So I wanted to add a little bit more than just straight yellow to them. So I am taking just the tiniest bit of red pigment, and I'm going to add it into this yellow just to mix it up a little bit to kind of try and attempt to get an orangey color. Didn't exactly get the orange that I wanted, but it's fine. It'll be fine. We're just going to kind of go with it and see. So what I'm going to do is, after I'm done mixing this up, I'm going to kind of apply it to kind of like the center of these sunflowers. And I'm trying not to make like a super thick layer on there because I don't know how thick this stuff cures. So I'm just going to kind of take it step by step. I'm going to go through and I will use every single color in this project, and I'm kind of going to do it color by color and kind of like after I'm done with each color, cure it under my lamp for a few minutes and go from there. Now, I'm going to pop off here for a second and just kind of let you just watch the process of me doing this. And then I'll be back on to let you know my thoughts and how I got on with this here in a bit. Alright, I'm back. So, for the brown, I'm just going to use a coffee colored mica powder just to kind of apply that in there, and a little bit of alcohol just for those spots that I want to be brown. Now for the kind of edges around the moon, I talked to some of my members and posted a pic and asked them what they thought. So I kind of went with a combination of a couple of different things. I got some crushed glass, and this is like a sapphire color that I'm going to pop in my molds, and then we're going to mix up some of my NicPro resin and just add a little bit of some rose gold colored foil to it. And then my plan is, after I demold these, because I don't want that part to necessarily be see-through, I think I want to kind of just paint along the edge, not where the flowers are. I need that to be clear, which is why I'm not going with a colored resin, because it kind of all blends into each other on the mold, and I don't want any colors over top of those flowers to kind of ruin like the look that I'm going for with the colors. So that's why this part needs to be clear. Now, I thought if I just kind of painted along the outer edge of these, then I would get that, you know, opaque look that I'm looking for, and you'll be able to see the foil and the glass and all of that good stuff. So this is what we're going to do. I'm also adding a little bit of my Rolio Pearl White in there, which is kind of like that super sparkle type stuff, just to give it a little bit more shimmer. And we're going to put it in here. So the first thing that I noticed, and this has absolutely nothing to do with any of the resins that I'm using today, but with the mold itself, those flowers, with the exception of the sunflowers, because it's a huge, huge open area, it's not ideal for UV resin. Or, okay, so let me stop there. It could be a combination of two different things. Now, you can't really tell how, like, tiny the spaces are in between these flowers. It's very deceiving. It looks a lot bigger than what it actually is. Like, it's so tiny in there that a toothpick, when you put it in there, it kind of pulls all the resin out. So, for something thicker like a UV resin, it may not be. This probably wasn't the project I should have picked with it, but like I said, it's a lot more deceiving than it. Wait, it looks more deceiving than it is? No. It looks deceiving. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. It looks a lot bigger. Like, you think that you have a lot more room to flow for that resin, but it really doesn't. So any type, and it's not just the UV resin, but UV resin in general has a thicker consistency to it than like your normal 2-part epoxy resin. So on my part, I probably shouldn't have picked this mold, or these molds in particular, to do this project with. Now, it also could be in part because of the little baby UV light that I have. You know, it's just the little tiny ones that you get that don't have any real power to them. And that could be part of my issue too. We all know that UV resin and molds, like, you have to cure it from both sides, which I did. But with those tiny little, like, in between where the flower petals are and stuff, to get in there with the resin and to try and get that light to go through there, even though this is a semi-transparent mold, I don't think that the light was able to get through the whole way like it should have. Again, not at all in part of the UV resin. Like, I'm not saying that at all. I actually really like this UV resin a lot, because on the top part, I didn't have an issue with it curing, like where it actually was like in direct contact with my light. But it's all the in-between and the underneath, even though I tried to cure it from underneath. When I demold it here later on, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So we'll just go with that. Now, of course, at this time, I have no idea that that is going to be an issue. I was slightly worried about it. But I mean, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I think what I do need to do and what I do know is that I need a better UV light for sure. 100%. No questions about it. But, you know, that'll come in time. I do think that I should have probably picked a different mold for this. Now, this is where I also had a little bit of issues, and not necessarily with like anything, but I just made a hell of a mess everywhere, is that because these little areas are so tiny and I'm trying to kind of fill them up the rest of the way where it may not have gone completely up high enough with that UV resin, just to put the clear backing on it to fill it up so it's not all bumpy and lumpy and all that fun stuff. It made a mess everywhere because, you know, it just, I tried to be neat, but it just, it wasn't working out for me. So yeah, I definitely don't think this is the right mold for those, unless maybe you're way better at it than me, which, you know, is a very good possibility because I don't do UV resin a whole lot. Like, I just don't. And, you know, it's what it is. But I think these molds, in my opinion, will probably be better off with, like, just a regular 2-part. However, that's the molds, not the resin. All right, so I'm just going in here and I'm going to top off all of these, and then we're going to see how they come out when I go to demold them. Okay, moment of truth. 24 hours later, here we are. And let's see. I do have them kind of cycling through the UV light again just to, you know, hopefully, maybe if anything is uncured, it finishes. I don't know, but as you can tell just from what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, now I do have this in real time just to kind of show you that yeah, it didn't work. Now, I did try after I demolded all of these to stick them outside to see if I could save this, just to have them cure outside in the actual sunlight to see if I could save it. But honestly, because of how small those little areas are, it just it took off so much that it was all like super gross, like just big holes in everything, just because it just didn't work. Now, again, in no way is this because of the resin. This is completely on me and the mold that I chose to use for it. And again, it could also be part of the, you know, the light that I have isn't like one of those high powered, really strong lights that can really penetrate through. But you can see, like, you can see it's transparent through there, but if it wasn't so deep. So, like, when you're putting it in those tiny little crevices, trying to get a thicker viscosity down in there is always harder. You honestly need something that's like very low viscosity resin for these type of molds, for them to be able to flow so that you don't get just air bubbles naturally occurring, you know, regardless of what kind of resin that you're using. But the viscosity of this resin is thick, just like any normal UV resin. Even the lower viscosities, I think, were probably still too thick for this, that it doesn't go in there. And even if it does go in there the entire way that you want it to, which, I mean, it did for the most part, then there were some obvious areas that I knew that I was going to have to fix, where it was more on me not making sure that I moved the resin around to cover all of those areas. But that was doable. This, however, because of how thin those little areas are for the petals, I think what happened is that it's too thick, and the sides of, like, where the resin would go in between they're not transparent. Like, they're so close together and so thick that they're not transparent. So that light, even though I had it on both sides, wasn't going through and hitting, like it could hit a little bit maybe on the bottom, but it's not hitting it all. So there was so much gooped up in the middle, in between the bottom layer and the top layer, that that light just couldn't penetrate through the whole way. And when I pulled it off, it just, you know, it just kind of ripped it off because there wasn't enough light to be able to get through. Because the reason I'm saying I know it's not the UV resin, because this piece is the only one that actually worked. And why is that? Because it was a big open area with none of those stupid little parts for the petals, that it actually, I mean, it was a tiny bit tacky, but that's nothing, right? I mean, you put it under light for a couple more minutes, that's nothing. It didn't rip apart like the rest of these did. So it's not the resin, it was the molds that I picked. Now, I'm not going to waste time finishing these pieces off because I only had one piece that was an actual, in my eyes, success, that it just doesn't make it worth it. I wasn't going to post this video, and I'm not doing glamour shots because there's nothing glamorous about this. I wasn't going to post it because in my eyes it was a complete fail, but at the same time I thought maybe I should post it because we've got to find lessons in the fails too. So this way you guys can see what I did wrong and, you know, not make the same mistakes I did. Anyway, that's a wrap on this one, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will catch you guys on Thursday for the next one. Love ya. Bye.